Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Masuk Report. My name is Carl Bodner, and I am pleased to be your host and moderator. Our topic for discussion today is to ask, is a college education the key to a better life? We have three panelists who will share their points of view about this issue. They are Mr. Andrew Townsend, a member of Masuk's History and Social Science Department, junior students Samantha Goldfarb and Sabrina Romansky. As always, we will build our discussion around four questions. Our first question asks, is it a viable option to ignore college and pursue your dream? Sam, what is your thought?
I think it really depends on what your dream kind of is. I feel like there's definitely some dreams that you need to pursue with a college education, but I think it's wrong to assume that everybody who must pursue something must also go to college. Like, college used to be this thing where you would go to it if you knew you wanted to go into a higher practice, but these days everybody goes to college. So I feel like it's not necessarily a necessity to achieving a dream, but it's definitely, it can help for some people, but it's not necessary.
Sabrina, are you in agreement with Samantha, or do you have a different point of view?
I kind of feel like I'm along the same lines as Sam. I think that, like high school, the point is just so everyone gets a free education, and that's awesome, but it's the things that the government thinks we should know, or like the basics on things that we probably just should know. But then if you want to go do something that not everyone needs to necessarily know, then college is a good place to pick up knowledge that you would have missed at high school. If you don't necessarily feel that you have any attachment to another subject that you haven't already gotten in high school, though, there shouldn't be a reason to not, or to go to college.
Well, from an educator's perspective, Mr. Townsend, what's your thought?
Well, I happen to agree with both girls on this because I think in our society today we put too much emphasis on college as being the only way to achieve success in our country, and there's a lot of different avenues that people can pursue in order to achieve whatever dream it is that they're trying to achieve. I'm not trying to say college is not important, but I'm also trying to say it's not for every single person. And some people will do just fine in life and achieve everything they want to achieve in life without having to go to 4 years of schooling in order to get that.
So in some degree then, maybe we're victimizing a lot of students, or many students, because of the pressure you're talking about, that this whole idea that we have to channel everyone to this one direction. And, you know, when you look at some of the statistics I've seen, there are a large percentage of students who don't go back for the second year. So how many get into college and how many complete college are, it appears to me, very diverse numbers. And I'm not sure we're being fair when we send that singular message out and don't emphasize that there are alternatives. But then also we have to financially support those alternatives. So do you have friends that think you share your point of view? Do you think students do feel too much pressure? Either one.
All right. I feel like most of my friends do intend to go to college, but they are also seeking a career where college would make sense on things that are more specialized than you would learn in high school. But yeah, there's so many other careers out there that you don't necessarily need college that I think it does make sense, and maybe there are people that are kind of frustrated because they don't see college as the end-all be-all, or they're just not excited for it because they know they don't need it. And
do you think this attitude and this social pattern that we have makes us too grade conscious?
A little bit. Like, instead of learning a subject because you want to learn it, now you're learning a subject because you need the good grade to go on your transcript to go to college. And if that's not the goal, then it probably shouldn't be stressing you out and keeping you up at night.
So you need, Samantha, to take calculus, whether you're going to use calculus for the rest of your life or not.
Precisely. I think it also, kind of going along with Sabrina's point, there's a lot of stakes on education and intelligence. So I think, at least from my perspective, I can kind of see college as being like an achievement, like, wow, you have the grades to go to college. Great job. But now that everybody's getting there and being able to go to college, there's a lot more competition. So I see a lot of people fighting for what they believe to be the smartest student with the greatest GPA and the most honors classes, and people's self-esteems really take a hit. And I don't really think it should be that way, because not everybody's cut out to do the same thing, but we put a lot more pressure and esteem-worthy stakes on that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
No, I definitely agree with you. Mr. Townsend, from your academic perspective, do you think teachers are subject to this pressure too, that we have to measure every child's performance, and if it's not to some rubricized, to make up a word, standard, then, not only is the student not a success, but the teacher's not a success?
Well, I think from an educator's perspective, we do kind of get measured in terms of like where do our kids go to school, and as a school, you want to be able to sort of boast that we had 3 Ivy League acceptances this year, or our kids 50% got into the most highly competitive colleges. And so as a teacher, you may feel some pressure that you want to get these kids prepared, especially now with the state of Connecticut going to the SAT as the measuring stick junior year. We're trying to get these kids ready to take that test, and then hopefully that will help them get into a better school. But to go back, I think what we do as a society is I think we almost use college almost as like a scare tactic sometimes to tell kids that they're not going to be able to succeed in life if they don't go to school. And we've all seen those charts where it says the person with a high school degree, how much they make, what the average income is, compared to a person with a bachelor's and a master's and so on. And you see that and you think, wow, if I don't have a bachelor's degree, I'm only going to make $25,000 a year. And you realize that later on in life that that's false, because you do meet a lot of people throughout your life that did not get a college degree and are doing very well financially, and did not need to pursue a degree, or did not need to pursue a 4-year degree. They only had to go to school for 1 year or 2 years to get that associate's degree or whatever else type of degree they could get.
I can see your point of view, and I think it has a lot of credibility to it. So let's go to our second question. Do colleges and society brainwash students into thinking that attending college equals or assures success? Sabrina, what do you think?
I think it is a little bit annoying. Like, let's say I didn't want to do a college career, but now I'm scared into taking a ton of AP courses that I don't want to take maybe, or I'm scared into doing all these extracurriculars that'll look good on a college resume, and then I have to stop and think, like, wait, does this actually matter to me? And it's a little bit scary. I think there's a lot of students that do that, like, they spend their free time doing things to get them into college, not to expand their knowledge on the world or to do things they enjoy. And it's out of that fear that you're not going to get into college, and it's hard to even step back and think, is college even the right option? Because it doesn't even seem like it is an option.
Where do you stand on that issue, Samantha?
I think it's a really interesting one. I think it calls back to a lot of our psychology and the way that we think about this. So, for example, as teenagers that are becoming adults and going into the wide world, we want to have some kind of security. So the idea of college and that, if I go to college, I'll make more money and I'll be able to do what I want to or need to do, has a ring of truth to it. Just because, again, if it can secure that security, then we will be more comfortable and we'll want to do it more. But it also, it's difficult because I think that's more the brainwashing part, because there's the security in the future that we might make the money, but at the same time, we're also depleting our security in a sense because our parents have to pay for this. And it gets more expensive the better you do, and the more security you have if you go to a better college. So I definitely think I agree with that point. That just kind of makes more sense to me.
So happiness might not be the end result. So you might be success, but it might not be happy success. Would you agree with that?
No, I definitely would agree with that. I mean, for a lot of colleges, they promote this image that if you attend our school, if you get a degree from our school, then you're going to be working in the city and you're going to be making a 6-figure salary, and everything that you wanted to get in life you're going to achieve now. But once you actually go through the process, you're going to realize that that's a very small percentage of graduates actually will achieve that. And does that mean that they actually are being happy because they have that now? I mean, if you think about it, you're going off to college 18, 19 years old, you don't really have a lot of life experience at that time. So you may think that you know what you want or the direction you want to go to, and the college is helping you find that. But when you actually get out of college, you realize that, you know what, you want to pursue a different avenue in life that you think is going to make yourself happier. And so now, did you just get a degree that confines you to only do one thing? And so now are you stuck in that area, you know, or do you have to now go back to school and get another degree in order to pursue a different area? And so that's why I think that we put too much emphasis with kids are leaving high school. It's like, well, what are you going to major in? And when they don't tell a major, you almost gasp and, wow, what do you mean you don't know what you're going to major yet? And I think that's what kids need to realize, that that's fine. You don't need to know. You don't need to know after your freshman year either, you know. But I guess once you get into your early 20s, you want to kind of maybe start narrowing it down a little bit.
Well, I would agree with that, and I think once you're in that early 20s, you're in that junior year of college, you have a more mature and broader perspective and a better chance at actually thinking through what it is that you want to aspire for. And so I think all of the points being made at the table here today are very strong points. Let's take a look at our third question, and it's very controversial. Are colleges and universities more business than learning centers? Okay, so let's start with you, Mr. Townsend.
I think they're a little bit of both. I mean, I don't want to sit here and just slam colleges and say that they don't serve a purpose. You know, you do go to school, you do learn a lot of different skills when you're there, and you do get your eyes opened up to different things that you normally maybe would not be exposed to if you didn't go to school. But again, I think if you look at the overall factor of the colleges, economics does play a big part in it, and we do see that the tuition costs now and what it costs for a person to go to, like, let's just say, a private school for 4 years. You know, are you really getting, I guess you said, your bang for your buck when you go to these schools, because you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this degree? You know, there's no guarantee that you're going to get rewarded with that at the end and get a high-paying job that's going to pay off these loans, you know, in a short term. So I think it's a little bit of both. I will say probably in the last 10 to 15 years, it seems like it's taken on more of a business aspect than it has a learning aspect. But I think we're going to have to look at that as a country as a whole and decide, you know, are the students getting what they actually need in these colleges, or is it just almost like a money-making, I won't say scheme, but, you know, process for these universities so they can hire more professors and build more buildings and things like that.
Yeah, with this leaning toward being more and more business and less academia, it seems like students have to realize they are the product, that the institution is something to be invested in, and its credibility is predicated off of the quality of the product you become. So your product, Samantha, which I don't like that thought. So, any comments from either of you?
Okay, I think, I'm a junior, Sam's a junior. I know that 99% of the juniors in this school suffer the same problem, but we go home to empty out the mailbox, and it's this many college advertisements, like, come here, and there's like giant colorful pictures and big packets that explain the college and why their college is the best. And you just gotta kind of sit there and think that colleges are spending so much money just trying to get their name out there and just kind of advertising themselves. And that's all money that could be poured into actual learning or things for the current students. But there's just more and more every day, and it's not just one letter from a college and you're done. No, it's multiple. They want to be in your head, and it's a little interesting. I think that kind of says something about the business aspect, that they really are concerned with the making money and not just the education.
Sam, you're nodding in agreement here.
I completely agree with that, and I also think that there's something to be said for the College Board taking over the SATs and stuff like that. The fact that just the tests themselves that cost money, and the preps cost money, and the fact that they're advertising in order to get into college. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I see parallels where it's like, well, they're saying you need a certain amount of money to have a certain amount of success in this area, and then colleges are saying, well, you also need a certain amount of money to have a certain amount of success in our area, and they kind of go along with each other. So we end up spending a lot of money just to fulfill that societal aspect we were talking about earlier. It does sound like a very business-like process. You know what I mean? And as Sabrina said, we're both juniors and we both have rather a critical perspective because we are actively feeling the discomfort of being put under this pressure. But from where I'm standing, as one who's experiencing this now, it doesn't seem quite fair. You know what I mean?
Interesting observation. I kind of like that idea. All right, our time is up, and we must close our discussion. I want to thank our panelists, Mr. Townsend, Samantha, Sabrina, for sharing their time and thoughts with us. We at the Masuk Report thank you for joining us. We hope you found our discussion interesting and thought-provoking. We wish you well and hope you will join us for the next Masuk Report.